we are back live on IBGR Network, International Business Growth Radio. Welcome, I'm Arthie Moore, your host for today, and you're listening in to Season 4, Episode 7, and I'm talking into ladies and gentlemen uniting, collaborating for each other's success, and the whole point of collaboration is to help us to realign injustices in this world. But before I do that, I just want to say to you, IBGR is not just our call sign as a radio station. We are more than a radio station. We're a network. And as your host, I would love to invite you and encourage you to go on to www.ibgr.network and join us there. I think exploring our platform and becoming a part of our community is important because if we are going to do this, if we're going to realign injustices around this world as entrepreneurs, we need to know how to do this with collaborators. So when we look at the nuances of what we're talking into, we can see that joining a community of commerce gives us the foundations that we need to grow together. So when you go on to our www.ibgr.network website, you will see that there's an IBGR community, and becoming a part of the community, you've got access to mentoring groups. Now, everybody's looking for mentoring and coaching right now. So why not tap into this as a resource that's so valuable and invaluable to your growth? Because when you join the IBGR community, you're automatically added to the community of commerce. Now, the community of commerce is a great place to network and connect with our entire community. So you can also join your favorite on-air talent. That's myself and Jan and everybody else that are incredible on-air talent here. And what you can do is also join other mentoring groups that gives you access to useful tools and mentoring conversations around your specific business challenges. So join one or more of these mentoring groups today and start engaging with other like-minded business growers and entrepreneurs. And with that, I just want to bring you back to what we're talking into. We're talking about, and you're now listening to me, in Season 4, Episode 7, talking as the visionary entrepreneur into the subject of Ladies and Gentlemen Unite. Now, the reason this is such a powerful topic for me, why I'm so engrossed in it and why I'm determined to showcase this a lot more, is that we do not have positive building conversations around men and women about gender, about imbalances. We shy away from it. When we talk about gender and inclusion, or even diversity and inclusion, and we talk about gender-based violence, people don't want to hear about it because they think that if they just hide away, it'll give them the ability to believe that the world is all fine and right in their eyes, in their own space. But outside of your space, the bigger picture, that is the important part we need to build in to be guided by and understand more clearly of what's going on. And so when we think about it from a business perspective, what are some of the things that owners want to know about the impact of men and women, gender inequality, looking at all of these imbalances? How does it affect the entrepreneur and business owner? And I think, well, simply this. And I wrote down a few points that I feel would resonate with business owners that I've come across over many years of being a diversity and inclusion specialist. A lot of people ask me, how can I impact business by bringing in more women into leadership roles? A lot of people cannot understand why. My question is, why not? Now, I'm not just saying go and bring women in and throw them into a position just for the sake of it. I'm saying uplift, empower, guide, and support women who are determined to grow, who show the leadership qualities that are worthy of being in that position. I'm not talking about doing a window dressing exercise. I'm saying that if you are intentional in looking for talent, you will find talent. If you're intentional in only looking for people who suit you, then there's a challenge with that. You will only find the people that suit you, and with that comes the blinkered mentality that nobody else exists. And you need to be cognizant of that fact because in our world, there are many talented people of both genders, and yet you find that in the work environment, generally women are overlooked. So I would ask you, Why would you do that? Or why do people do that? It's because they've become so complacent and comfortable that they are fearful of somebody actually stepping up where they have not stepped up. It's as simple as that for me. It's no longer a thing about gender. It's about some people have become so ambitious and determined and are looking at their self growth and their leadership skills so strongly that a lot of people are afraid that they will be stepped over by being included. You are actually making sure that you do not have that happen to you. Because there are people who are stepping up all over the place, regardless, whether they're young people, whether they're older people. And I'm saying that do not discount the generations that are crying out to be included in the work environment. So when I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, unite, I'm not dumbing it down to a gender because I'm saying that we need to get to that point where we see the value of the human being, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their age or their culture or their language or the background. I'm saying include people because they're worth it. And so when we look at some of the other questions from an own perspective, will diversity and inclusion make a difference to the bottom line in my business? Absolutely yes. We should not even be asking that question in this day and age. Because to have diverse knowledge, diverse interactions, diverse experiences, diverse talent, then why would you not include that? Why would just one way of thinking make sense to you? If we are in an environment of who I are in technology, we need to step up and innovate. Why would you not include as many talented and gifted people as possible, regardless of whether they've got a disability or not, regardless of their sexual orientation, where they come from, the background, and the circumstances that you believe limits them? Because then again, I'm going to say it might be your belief system that you need to take a look at it. Be very careful how you approach this. And so when we look at the other aspects, why should I consider equal pay and equal opportunity in my own company? Okay, now that begs an even bigger question of why not. You see, equal pay and equal opportunity it's directly related to the ability of the person to be productive at the level that you expect. That is where equal pay and opportunity comes in. You do not limit it and say equal pay and opportunity just because we're talking about gender here. Let's remove the word gender. Let's say, as a human being, do they deserve to be properly remunerated for their efforts, for the value that they bring to the work environment, regardless whether they're a man or a woman? Suddenly your perspective changes. You're no longer limited to who you remunerate one over the other, and you remove favoritism. And that's a dangerous game that a lot of people play. And then they cannot understand why there's an uprising or why people find that there's an imbalance in the work environment. Okay, you need to actually step up differently. Another question: what value do men and women bring to each other on a professional basis? My answer to that is everything. What value do men and women bring to each other on a professional basis? Everything. There is a different thoughtfulness in the masculine energy, and there's a different thoughtfulness in the intuitive feminine energy. Now, I'm not a feminist and I'm not anti men, but I am pro life. I am pro perspective. I am pro clear thinking. I am pro common sense. I am pro compassion and generosity of heart, and understanding that every single person deserves in every single way. And so when you think about it, the brilliance of these questions is that it forces you to engage in meaningful conversations, to begin those conversations as desperately needed to challenge mindsets. So I believe that in asking these questions, we are not limiting ourselves. We're opening ourselves up to possibility to hearing how other people feel. When you can listen with empathy and compassion to how somebody else feels, you then open yourself up to engaging and also sharing your experiences. And suddenly you become enlightened And with enlightenment comes a higher consciousness and an awareness. And with a higher consciousness and awareness, you then take on a different type of responsibility and become accountable on a very different level, because you realize that you can no longer be complacent and say, I did not know. I did not know is another scary place that people love to reside in, because it gives them a comfort blanket that actually lies to them. It's not an invisibility cloak. You see, this comfortable blanket that you put around yourself does not protect you from anything. What is protecting you from is actually acknowledging the truth of situations. And so when you look at, I came across another saying that I thought was really profound and thought it makes sense to share it with you. It's by a lady called Margaret Sanger. She says, woman must not accept, she must challenge. She must not be awed by that which has been built up around her. She must reverence that woman in her which struggles for expression. Now, when you look at the injustices in this world, people are trying to show you that they are battling, that they're not coping, that they need help, that they need assistance. What is stopping you from actually giving and from serving and from being of service to people? Because I think that there's tremendous value that can be added from both genders without having to dumb down the self-worth of the individual based on past experiences. I know that history plays a role in controlling the belief systems of both men and women in what their original roles and responsibilities were. I think now is our chance to realign our thinking by encouraging an open minded approach, one that allows us to remove old thinking and plant the seeds of possibility once again. Only then will we have a fruitful future filled with an abundance mentality that serves all, not just one gender. And I think with that, we need to take a short 2 to 3 minute break, and I'm going to come back to you